friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Certified Badass.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Wednesday afternoon? That's right. Kor-Drath is coming. The reckoning will happen. Blood will gush and be spilled. Yes. Hellfire will rain. Sign up now. Link in the description below. Thank you guys very much. We got lots of people here. Let's give some shout outs. This is the DNA show, of course. And you know who we are. Cool guys.
And we're matching-ish today.
We are. I've got sleeves.
I'm cool.
He had sleeves until he put his arms through them, and they blew right off.
Yep.
He was like...
I actually do have a shirt that says something to that effect.
Yep.
They're great.
Let me just fix
So
this.
sleeveless.
Let's see. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Much better. Oh, nope, not really. Damn it. Oh, goddamn.
Oh, my God. We are having technical difficulties out of the gate.
Oh, F it. Good enough. Hello. You can see us. That's what matters. I'll be first man. You are. What's up, Randy? He is number 2, but no, always number 1 to me, buddy. I'm last, like Art. Oh, what's up, Marcus? As long as you're not driving while you're watching.
Hey, you can watch it work. More power to you.
Hail, hail. Hello. Oh, you are a free man. Sheldon Martin is here. Matt Barr, what is up? AJ made it. I smell Dennis's pits from here.
Never.
You don't have to tell me about that. Put him down, Dennis. Put him down.
Man, it smells like picking wildflowers.
Smells like Teen Spirit.
That's right.
Dennis, we got lots of room if you want to slide over a little bit more. There you go. So anyhow, today we've got a bunch on the agenda. We watched PAPERGIRLS on Amazon, which is the show that is adapted from Brian K. Vaughan and God, why am I blanking on the artist? Oh, Cliff Chang. I love his artwork. That's why I actually bought it when the book came out. I liked the story. I thought it was really cool. And then this last Friday, boom, Amazon dumped all 8 episodes. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about BATGIRL. Not going to happen. That's right, BATGIRL. Let's film a whole movie with a really good cast. I mean, nobody knew who the hell the actress was that played BATGIRL, but you got Brendan Fraser. You got Michael Keaton.
I would have watched it just with those two guys,
Dude,
regardless of what the story was like.
I was there just for those actors.
Correct.
In the can, ready to go. And Warner Brothers is like, it is irredeemable. We are not showing this to anyone.
How bad could it be? We went through Halle Berry as
Catwoman. I know,
and if
right?
we could suffer through that superhero film, and then we watched Captain Marvel.
Are you kidding me? I was going to say, let's keep it in the DC realm.
Oh.
If they could put out Wonder Woman 1984 with a straight face, this Batgirl's got to be bad.
It can't be worse, can it? It just
I know.
can't be with Michael Keaton
and Brendan Fraser, for God's sake.
I don't know. I just kind of want to watch The Mummy now.
I know.
I just don't get it. I just don't get why they would do it.
So anyhow, and then friend of the show. He's never been on the show. He's never met Dennis, but they will meet. Two Titans will clash. Jon Malin is going to join us at about 4:30, so a little under a half hour, and we'll chat with him. So that's the plan. And of course, like I said, Kor-Drath is coming, so go sign up now if you haven't already and get that spanking beautiful Lilineth. Say that 5 times fast. Trading card.
Lilineth.
I didn't mean it.
Oh.
Get this beautiful trading card. Ray Dennis, let's both look in at it. Wow. Get this beautiful trading card when you sign up and back the campaign. Just look at that cover. Oh, it's blood will spill. So anyhow, PAPERGIRLS. PAPERGIRLS is about 4 girls. They're about 12, 13 years old. And AJ wants to know if we are celebrating White Boy Summer. When John gets here, sure. Gal Gadot is eye candy. Yes. Maybe Batgirl should have been prettier. Just saying. I don't know.
We will never know.
We'll never know.
But and they dropped like 90 million, but that's a whole segment in out of itself.
That's right. So PAPERGIRLS is about 4 girls. They're about 12, 13 years old. They all have a paper route. They meet up one morning. The new girl, I'm awful with names. What was the girl's name? The Asian girl in the show? What was her name?
Aaron.
Aaron in the show is the Asian girl. She's kind of like the main character out of the 4. Even though they do all have their nice, intricate backstories, she's the first one you meet. It's her first day on the job. It is November 1st, so it's hell night. Still technically night because it's 4 a.m. when they're out there delivering papers in
Halloween just wrapped up.
That's right, 1988. I guess we'll keep this spoiler free. There's time travel involved. They do every show with time travel pulls me in because I just love to see how they handle it. Because in this show, they have no problem with their younger selves meeting their older selves, whereas in Back to the Future, oh, that's a big no-no.
You know, which is funny. My wife watched it. Andy called and she said, "Dude, you got to watch this. You got to watch this." So my wife said, and I sat down. She goes, "Oh, I've been wanting to." So we started plowing through it. It only took us a couple of days. And she said, "I just don't understand this time travel stuff. If they see each other or touch each other, it's like bad." And I'm like, "Oh, see, you did it. We're dealing with paradoxes here. You've learned all of your time travel from Back to the Future. There are so many different theories out there."
Well, she watched Endgame, right?
Correct.
Endgame, Captain America fought Captain America.
Exactly. Again, not like Back to the Future.
Right.
So, and I'm like, you just got to stop with Back to the Future. We're past that. I mean, you got Quantum Leap. You've got all these other things.
Well, Quantum Leap, though, he never went. I don't believe there was ever an episode where he went back to a younger version of himself. Was there?
I don't know. He was always in somebody else's body.
But my point is, did they ever do an episode where he went back into somebody else's body but met himself? Right. I don't think they ever did that.
I don't know. I don't remember them doing that, but somebody out here might. So if you do, leave a comment below.
Wait. What is my wife watches Virgin River? I don't know what that is. That rings a bell. Well, hello to you, Amish Ninja. Is it hard being an Amish Ninja with no power? I'm just curious.
No,
I guess you don't really
They're
need
very
it.
sneaky.
You
they
can do it by candlelight.
Smoke bombs?
No, that's true.
There's no power in there. Don't need him for shuriken. Nope.
All right. So back. Oh, wait. Maybe Sam Beckett is in Dennis's body right now.
He could be.
He could be, but then Dennis would be acting a lot cooler. And I noticed.
That's kind of hard to do, Dean.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So anyhow, these 4 girls, they meet up. You've got kind of you've got the Asian girl. You've got what's the girl's name? That's a tough chick.
Well, okay. So you got Mac.
You break it down.
So Mac is the girl. If you've all seen Terminator 2, and I know you have, she reminds me of the female version of John Connor as the kid. The haircut, the eyes, the physical look, the way they dress. Anyway, it reminds me of female John Connor. She is the badass. Her name's Mac.
Hold on, real quick.
Yep.
Tippy Tail says he tried to change his dad's diet so he wouldn't have a heart attack. Talking about Quantum Leap.
Oh.
So, that's cool. I'd have to. I watched that show religiously. I just don't remember much of it. I remember the episode because okay. All right. So anyhow, go ahead. So yeah.
Yep. So you've got Mac. She's a badass, and you do find out, that she's got something wrong with her, and so can you theoretically go back in time and change something?
Well, it's not go back in time. So they go from 1988 to 2019.
2019, then to 99.
And then the 99. But in 2019, we'll talk about little spoilers because I just have to. In 2019, Mac, that's her name, right? Yeah, Mac meets up with her brother, who in 1988 was a degenerate loser. But in 2019, he's a successful ER doctor.
He's a surgeon.
And that was a nice little twist because I'll be honest, I only read the first 6 issues of the series. Now it ran for 30 issues, and there is a big fat omnibus of it all out there. And I enjoyed it, but after the first 6, it kind of wrapped up the first story arc and I fell off. And I'm glad I did because I don't know if any of this happened in the book or not. So she actually met up with her brother, who is, of course, he was older than her back then. So he was probably 17 or 18. So he's 40 something now, in his 40s now. He's responsible. And it was neat because she's 12 and she just can't imagine seeing her brother in his 40s being this clean cut. As she said, you're rich now, in his house. He's got 2 kids. And
he acts all stiff and nerdy. Like, what's wrong with you? And they do some fun stuff. Once he realizes it's her, because he doesn't believe her right away.
Yeah,
which is great. And then the pieces start coming together, and he starts going, "Oh my God, this is possible." And then they have a really cool scene where they do what we used to do: bottle rocket fights. So they're sitting there with bottle rockets and shooting them at everybody. This is awesome.
No, the show's good. It is good. Dennis would I'm not as harsh a critic as Dennis is.
I'm a much harder critic, yes.
And when he said it, I was worried at first when I suggested it to him. So I'm like, I don't know if he's going to like it or not. I see things in here he might bitch about.
So I'll drop some of the negatives right now so we don't have to talk about them. They have a number of wokeness plots.
But you got to say what some of them are. That doesn't. I get how that's a negative, but without specifically saying what a few examples, that doesn't say anything.
So in 1988, you start. So racism is a big part of this. It comes up multiple times throughout it. Oh, that's racist. Because, even in 88, well, you can't say that. That's not nice. That's racist. Racism in 1988 really was not a thing.
Not huge.
It wasn't anyway. It really wasn't. Maybe in certain parts of the South or something like that. But like when we grew up, there was just none of this in the 70s and 80s. Like everything's hypersensitive today. They do touch on it again when they jump up to 2019 because everything that they would say, well, you can't say that now. Oh my God, that's racist. So everything is racist. So they do have that in there. They do talk about issues like, of course, even back in 1988, one of the characters, I won't say who, winds up being a lesbian. So she has to explore all of her, coming out and what it means like. And she sees her future self being in it. So does that mean, is it a self-fulfilling prophecy that was she going to be a lesbian, but now that she sees herself as a lesbian, does that cause her to actually want to do it? So these are all topics, and you're just like,
Yeah, but she was. You could tell. There were hints.
There were, and I actually said earlier.
Season 3, Quantum Leap, 2-part episode, Sam leapt into his 16-year-old self on his family's ranch. Now I want to go back and watch that. So if anybody knows where Quantum Leap is available to watch, hopefully for free, tell me.
Yeah. Very cool.
40%. Guys, it's okay. I already wasn't going to watch this show. Okay. I mean, that's whatever. I found it intriguing. One of my favorite actors, I don't know the actor's name. Actually, it's right there. Jason. Oh my God. How do you say Raffi's real name? Jason what?
Yeah, it's Rafi.
Rafi from The League is that actor's in this show. And he plays like the main badass. And it is awesome.
So the problem is if
hysterical.
you guys know who he is and like playing Rafi, he always plays Rafi in almost everything that he's in. It's the same. They were like, hey, we're just going to make a good guy or a bad guy, and we're just going to bring Rafi in there. And he is like a set stereotype character, and he's good.
4:30, guys. I told Dan 4:30. Or Dan, I told Jon, Mr. Malin, 4:30. So, because we want to get this stuff out of the way first.
He will be on.
So here's the funny thing. I had a paper route when I first broke into comics in 91 and moved to Florida. A friend of mine did a paper route in the morning. And he was like, oh, you should come out with me one morning. And I was like, what time? He's like, 4 a.m. And I was like, 4 a.m.? He goes, oh, I'll pay you something. And I'm like, you know what? I was like 21. I'm like, 4 a.m., what the hell? I barely, I stay up that late sometimes. I was like, I'll go with you one morning. He's like, yeah, you could do this. Maybe pick up some extra cash before you start drawing funny books for the day. I did it for one day with him, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Maybe if all the papers already came rolled and stuff, and I didn't have to insert shit, so it was just literally take them and throw them to the front yards. But we had to roll them or insert stuff into the papers, roll them. I was out after one day. So,
Andy.
Who's this guy? Oh, I'm getting an AIDS joke here. Where's my? There it is. Let's see. A paper route where Andy first had his encounter.
Oh, so Tiffany, she's in it. She's a cool character, and she gets to meet her future self. KJ, they all wind up meeting their future selves, and it's an interesting dynamic. The highs of the show are all these kid actors or actresses, I should say, are all great. They actually are all absolutely fantastic. I had no problems with them. And then the badass, she plays the prioress, Adina Porter. As soon as we saw her, I'm like, oh my God, she's got to be the bad guy. Always has to be the bad guy. And my wife and I are like, but we know her from somewhere. And we were sitting there figuring out where. True Blood.
True Blood.
And she was the awesomely bitchy, terrible mother in there. She was great as well. So the acting in this is really good.
I will say about the 12-year-old girls, they play 12 and you're like, yeah, but are they really like 16 and they just look 12? Because I was really impressed, like Dennis said, with the acting, because you think, yeah, you see 12-year-olds act and stuff all the time, but do you see them hold a whole show to themselves? Are they that good? So I looked them up, and most of them were around maybe 13. Maybe the oldest was 14 when the show was filmed last year. So, yeah, I give kudos to the 4 lead actresses in the show because they did a really solid job. You had Ali Wong play the older version, adult version of Aaron. I like Ali Wong's stand-up comedy. She's a really funny comedian. She did a great job. I don't know. I thought for 8 episodes, I'll be honest, it was Saturday, and I binged them straight through Saturday afternoon from around, I want to say I started around 2 and then just went straight through Saturday night, just sitting on the couch watching them because didn't have much else to do, and it pulled me into the show. So I dug it. I think if you're into like time travel type stories and things like that, I recommend it. I think you should give it a watch.
What are you going to rate it?
I'll give it a solid 8.
Okay.
8 flat.
I enjoyed the acting. I thought the premise was cool. I like the storylines and how they interweaved, especially when they went through the time. So it was solid writing and stuff like that. Some of the things were a little too woke for me, but overall, it wasn't bad. I mean, obviously they sat down and like, well, we need to do this checkbox and this checkbox and this one. But with that being said, it still wasn't bad. They did it in a good way. It wasn't overpowering. With that being said, I actually thought it was solid. I'd give it a 7.0. I enjoyed watching it. If season 2, if it does get made, I would probably watch it. My wife definitely wants to watch it, so it's something we can both watch. Yeah, but apparently it's going to be better than Batgirl.
Apparently anything is. How's the humor? I assume you're talking about in the show. It's good. I mean, it's a drama show, but obviously, like anything, there's humorous moments in it. It's not written to be a comedy, but there are humorous moments in it that, you get a chuckle out of. So,
and it does kind of take you back. Like I said, the writing's good because it does take you back. I mean, I graduated high school in 88, so you can reference that time period,
right?
And their interactions together. I mean, it's authentic. At least it's right. Very authentic interaction.
If you grew up in the 80s, it's like Stranger Things. It gives you that type of feeling. It's just funny to me how Dennis and I are the same age, but he graduated a year after me, which is so sad that he had to be held back in kindergarten.
Whatever.
He was so slow in kindergarten. They're like, he keeps trying to put the square block in the round hole, Mrs. Turner. And she's like, well, he is the dumb one out of the two, so I guess hold him back. His brother always did have the brains. So, hey, you get held back in kindergarten, you graduate in 88. He wasn't in the class. He should have been the cool class 87. It happens.
No, 88 was great.
Short bus Dennis is what we like to call him.
Nobody calls me that.
Yeah, they
especially do. Andy.
What's this? Are you guys married? Yeah, I have a wife. Her name's Helen. She's working right now, and Dennis is married to Stephen. Oh wait, Susie.
Wow.
Nickname.
Wait till she sees you. She's gonna knock you out.
Mama said, "Knock you out." Let's talk about this knockout. Batgirl film axed by Warner Brothers won't be released. It's bad when they're like, HBO Max? No, we don't want to have people stop subscribing to our pay platform, so let's not even show it there.
How bad can it be? That is got to be the question. Is this going to be like Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four, which I still have watched multiple times in my life?
Short bus Dennis is all right. That's true. That's a good point. Roger Corman's Fantastic Four was entertaining. And the Captain America movie right. with the fake ears.
I was just saying his budget was like $450,000, $470,000 for that entire movie. I had to see it on a bootleg VHS tape back in the day. And I was like, even when Dr. Doom pulls out that Luger at the end to shoot the guy, I'm like, my God, this is so bad. Could this be worse?
This is gotta be worse.
I liked Roger Corman's.
So we can actually listen to this article instead of me reading it. It's only 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes long. Let's listen to this article and see what they have to say.
Axed by Warner Brothers, won't be released on any platform. Batgirl, the feature film adaptation of the DC Comics character, has been killed at Warner Brothers, Variety has confirmed. It will not premiere on any platform at the studio, neither theatrically nor on HBO Max. The production, starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon.
Leslie Grace. Can you Google her real fast? I'm curious what her background is, because I'll be honest, I've never heard of this actress before. That doesn't mean that she's not a good actor. Obviously, I don't know everybody, but I don't know what else she's been in. And she's the star of this movie. What else has she been in?
In the Heights, Miss Bala. Oh, look, she's known for Batgirl.
Yeah.
That's one of her big ones. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything there notable? I haven't heard of any of those yet.
No, she's obviously very young. She started her career in 2017.
Go back up. It might say when she was born. Up here. 95. So yeah, she's young. I mean, honestly, I hope this doesn't reflect bad on her career. It could just be, look, Halle Berry's a great actress. Catwoman sucked ass, and not literally. We only wish, and you know, she's a great actress. So who knows? This woman could be very good. The movie could just blow.
Jordan, aka Batgirl, and directed by Bad Boys for Life and Ms. Marvel filmmakers Adil El Arbi and Bill Alfala, was greenlit in 2021 as part of a company-wide effort at Warner Brothers to create feature films specifically for HBO Max. But the new corporate regime at Warner Brothers Discovery has pivoted the company's priorities back to theatrical features, leaving Batgirl without a proper home. Also on the chopping block, Scoob: Holiday Haunt, a follow-up to the 2020 film Scoob, has been shelved by the studio.
But I don't think
footage for the animated adaptation of the Scooby-Doo series was showcased in a sizzle reel for HBO Max back in December 2021. Sources indicate that the production had cost Warner Brothers $40 million. Studio insiders insist the decision to axe Batgirl was not driven by the quality of the film or the commitment of the filmmakers, but by the desire for the studio's slate of DC features to be at a blockbuster scale. Batgirl was budgeted to screen in homes on HBO Max, and not for a major global release.
Okay, well, that's fine. If it was made for HBO Max, why aren't you showing it? You're trying to sell us this bill of goods that it's not because of the quality. You're telling me Warner Brothers just wants to shit $90 million down the drain? And not, I mean, there used to be a thing where a movie sucked so bad it was straight
to DVD. That's
or
what
straight,
it was.
well, straight to VHS.
Right.
And then straight to DVD.
But that's what it was.
They're not even, I don't even think they're doing that, because honestly, what's worse, straight to DVD or straight to streaming?
Look, Mulan 2. Mulan 1 was a great movie. Mulan 2 went straight to DVD, and my kids made us get it.
Well, so did Tarzan.
We watched
there was a second Tarzan.
There was.
But those were, I don't know about Mulan 2, because until now, I honestly didn't know there was a second one.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew there was a second Tarzan, because I'm a big Tarzan guy, and I thought the animated Disney cartoon was great. It was straight to DVD, but I don't think it had anything to do with quality. Like, I don't think it was ever supposed to be theatrical. I think it was purposely made that way.
It's just like Aladdin. I think they did a second Aladdin. And the same thing. They obviously didn't get Robin Williams. It's made cheaper. It was made to go directly to DVD.
Well, that's just it, Randy. This was made for HBO Max, not for theaters. And they're not even, I mean, it'd be cool if they were like, oh my God, this is great. Screw HBO Max. This is going theatrical first.
Right. Or 1 week only in theaters.
Right. Or this is theatrical, and they're like, let's just put it to HBO Max. It's not going to make the money in theaters. They're not even showing it there.
So why? What is in this movie that is so bad? Is it the acting? Is it the script? Is it so woke that they know they're going to come down there in pitchforks? I mean, are they showing neo-Nazis? Are they showing her as Antifa? What are they doing that they can't even show it on your streaming platform for nothing?
Here we go. This movie had to be beyond apocalyptic bad for them to lose a Michael Keaton Batman appearance. And Brendan Fraser, I believe, was the bad guy. Dude, I love Brendan Fraser. He's making a comeback. His next movie, they have him in this huge fat suit because he's playing this obese teacher, I believe, that's based on a true story. Let's keep listening to this.
In theaters. The initial $75 million production budget for the project, which finished principal photography earlier this year and was in post-production, reached $90 million, due in part to COVID-related delays in protocols. The decision still comes as a shock, as studios almost never shelve productions outright, preferring to get at least some return on their investment. It also comes as Warner Brothers is still contending with what to do about The Flash, a DC adaptation created and budgeted specifically for theatrical release in
Now, The Flash is a whole nother set of problems because Ezra Miller is a total freak show. The dude's going around, this is old news, but he chokes out this pregnant chick and puts her to the ground. In Hawaii a couple months ago, he goes into a bar, hits somebody with a chair. He's I think there's a warrant out for him or something. I mean, the guy's a total freak show mess. And the Flash, it'd be different if the Flash was supposed to come out this year. Then they could, but that comes out next year, and it just gives more time for Ezra Miller to totally F up.
He's already screwed the pooch so bad on this one. They're and you know, we did get to a little bit of news. You know, the Aquaman 2 trailer did drop.
It did?
It did. The teaser trailer.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And we knew we do get to see a little bit because he dropped a hint in there that Ben Affleck is going to be back as Batman, and he does it because, you know, DC wasn't even at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's right. Hey, before we keep going, let's introduce our guest right here. I believe I'll use this one for him.
Certified Badass.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Malin, the certified badass.
Hello.
Where's that Jack? Is it John or Jack today?
My friends call me Jack. You can
All right,
call me
Jack.
Jack.
So you call him John.
All right, John. We're just talking about Batgirl taking a dump so bad they're not showing it anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's a trick.
How so?
I think. Because I didn't even know there was a Batgirl movie or Batwoman movie being made. So
Oh, yeah, man. Batgirl.
I've only heard of it, I think, today. So, like, I heard you say earlier that Michael Keaton is in it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that should have been on my radar by now. It wasn't. I think they know it wasn't on anybody's radar, so I think what they're doing is they're doing a huge publicity stunt by intentionally pulling it to get everyone to talk about it and eventually demand that it be released, and then they're going to release it.
Do the old not Zach. Well, basically, whatever term.
If in fact, like you said,
cut.
if in fact, like you said, it's actually fully filmed, because who's going to throw $70 million down the toilet? So,
I mean, dude, it's like they're saying 90 million, and I agree. I think
It makes no sense
It
no
makes
matter
no-
how you break it apart. I think you're right, which is funny you say that, because I was going to say that once we got through it all. No matter how bad it is, you're going to put it out because you got to recoup some cost somewhere in some channel. Don't matter if it's direct, if it's streaming, or if it's in the theater. You've got to recoup some of your money. Nobody's going to put it out that bad. They may go through and edit the shit out of it, but they're not going to just cancel it.
mm-hmm.
They got J.K. Simmons in it, Brendan Fraser, Michael Keaton. I'm like, that movie's going to see the day of the time. This is just the cheapest way, because DC's got no money right now. So this is probably the cheap way to do it. Instead of spending $90 million on publicity, we'll spend nothing on it and let everybody else do it for us.
By the way, that's Dennis. That's Mr. Malin.
Hello,
His friends
Dennis.
call him Jack.
You can call me Jack.
Well, hi,
Oh, there you
Jack.
go. How are you doing this fine day so far?
Incredible.
Nice. Is this your morning, by the way? I always meant to ask what your schedule is.
Well, my schedule goes kind of around the clock. So sometimes I wake up right about now. Other times I go to sleep right about now. Just, keeps whatever rolling around.
What's the longest amount of time you sleep for at once? I mean, are you one of those guys?
I
that's
get
like
about 4 or 5.
hours,
I get 4 or 5 hours of sleep generally. Yeah. So
Is that just your body waking up seriously after that
Mhm.
amount of time, or do you set an alarm? Or
I wish I could get 8. So,
really?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I've got the total opposite problem, dude. I hit the sack like around, well, besides Monday night and Tuesdays when we do the professionals, most nights I'm out like around 10:30. And if it wasn't for my alarm going off at 5:30, I just keep sleeping.
Yeah, it's what are they? Circadian clock, and mine's broke. It's broken. So
Yep.
people have a normal time that they get up and go to sleep, like normal average folk.
Yeah.
Not me.
What about when you actually had, well, let's get into like your beginnings in comics and stuff. I know before comics you were in, was it the Army?
Yeah, well, Army National Guard. Yeah,
National Guard.
When I
So-
was a very young man.
So there was obviously a time where you did have more.
Yeah, I had to attend school.
Yeah, I mean, you had regular hours. Was it when you finally went total freelance? You were like, I guess. Hey,
No. I mean, every time I'd get laid off, because I did construction work,
Yeah.
and every time we'd get, because I'm in Michigan, so every time we'd get laid off, we'd get five months off. Kind of the same thing. It just keeps winding around the clock. So I think I slept better then than I do now. I think the 4-hour stuff is probably in the last, I don't know, probably since I actually did go full freelancer. So when I was working at Marvel, and then all of a sudden everything just started getting wonky and no reset, like going back to work, construction, whatever would put me back into the groove. But I don't, I just like in school, I'd just be exhausted like everybody else. So.
Man, I
don't know, unless you guys woke up bright and sunny and hopped out of bed and like,
I'm
ready to roll.
I'm not like that.
I kind of dragged myself out of bed.
I'm 5 a.m. every morning. I'm up. I wake up. I got a CPAP. Sucker comes off. I immediately head out. I'm bright and cheerful, and I'm ready to go every morning at 5 a.m. He called me, was it yesterday at 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, he called me at 6 a.m. I'm like, what are you doing up? He goes, oh, I knew you'd be awake.
Yeah, well, I had to take my wife to the airport. Randy Howell, $5. Graveyard Shifts, Volume 1 to 4 arrived yesterday. Nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate your backing.
That's cool. No, I mean, it takes me, when I get up at like 5:30, about 20 minutes later, I'm wide awake and just ready to go. I've always been a morning person. Like when I got in, when I started drawing comics full time, I was single, obviously, no girlfriend, anything. And I just realized if I want to go out and hang out at night and go to bars with my friends, they all have 9-to-5 jobs. So I was like, well, I guess I should just work 9 to 5, daytime. So then when they get off work, I can pretty much go hang out at a bar till, 2, 3 a.m. And then, basically be on their schedules. Because all my friends where I was living, none of them did what I did. They all had 9-to-5 jobs. So I just thought, okay. And then when I got married, my wife has always had a 9-to-5-er. So I thought, well, if I want to be able to hang out with her at night and stuff, I guess I should just work normal daytime stuff as well, compared to like, I think I want to say Scott Hanna, but I could be wrong. But, let's just say Scott Hanna, I think, told me once he would start around 4 in the afternoon and work till like 3 a.m. And I'm like, yeah, but when do you hang out with your wife if she works? So, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I had a time that I liked getting up. It was 4 a.m. For a while, and my wife does go to work on regular schedule, so that usually worked out pretty good. So I'd get up about an hour, I guess maybe 2 at times before she would be getting up to head out, and that'd give me a little bit of a head start on the day.
Yeah.
And then I'd work the day, then she'd come home, and at some point I would crash, and at some point I'd wake up. So
no, I hear you. I hear you.
So one of the questions we always like to ask for the first-timer guests that are on the show is kind of your origin story. How did you get involved in comic books?
Well, I've always been involved in drawing. My little brother he was a Ninja Turtles fan. I felt like I missed Ninja Turtles by like that much. I mean, I watched it from time to time, but it always felt like my little brother's show. And so he wanted me to draw him Ninja Turtles because I had always drawn, but I had no real focus on anything.
Yeah.
And so he gave me some of his coloring books, and I just kind of learned how to draw them. Eventually, I was sketching them in school, and I became the Ninja Turtle guy. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting noticed for something now, I guess. And my older brother shoplifted a stack of comic books from a gas station. He almost got caught, and he only didn't get caught because he had set the stack up on top of the ice box, the outside ice box. And they came out and they frisked him down, and he said they were sitting right there. They just didn't see it. And so he brought them back home. And by the time I got home from school, there were probably about 30. I remember it being about 30 comics kind of laying right there on the ground of our bedroom floor. And I just kind of dug through them all, and I kind of got into them. I remember we got in a fight at some point because I kind of confiscated them as mine. But what I do remember was sitting down there. I was like, these are a lot better than coloring books. And so then I wanted to start challenging myself into that. And, started buying them, gravitated towards Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, those guys.
Yeah.
And whatever. By 14, I said I'm going to be a comic book artist. I didn't know it was going to take as long as it did. But,
Right.
I mean, that was the 90s, and the 90s went through the crash, and it was just like, picking up the pieces for.
And you never, after high school, you never went to like art school or anything, right? You're all self-taught.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, that's super cool. I mean, I went to the Kubert school, and I remember Joe saying, in the 3 years you're here, we're going to shove about 10 years worth of stuff down your throat in the interview. And I was like, all right, sounds good. And, it was 3 years of hard work. It was six and a half hours a day of school, and then about 5 to 6 hours more homework. And then, if you had a part-time job, you had to figure that in around it as well. So.
Yeah, no, I was aware of the Kubert school, but it was too far away. It was just like not really something that I thought would ever be really possible for me. I thought it'd be cool to go there and, learn stuff.
Sure.
But I figured the kind of benefit of, this industry, as I understood it at the time, is that, I don't need to go there. A lot of my heroes didn't attend any kind of comic book school. So, again, Todd, Jim, Rob, and they did very well for themselves. So I can probably do it as well. I can probably go that route as well.
Sure.
So, I worked day jobs, and I just kept kind of chipping away at it for years.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was definitely a different time. When I went to the Kubert school, it was 88. So it was before those guys really, I think Rob might have just started. I know Jim Lee didn't even get on X-Men until I was going to the school. Todd might have been on Infinity for DC when I was going to the school. So none of those guys blew up. It was before the big superstar name time. And I think the first person I knew of that started off as like an intern and worked his way up was Joe Madureira when he was, I think, 16 at Marvel. And he worked his way up interning there and then, getting small jobs. And I think his first real gig, he was only like 17 at the time when he got it.
Nice.
So, and my parents were the type that were like, they were more old school, and they weren't like, obviously they weren't like, you've got to go to a real college, because I went to the Kubert school, but they definitely wanted something after high school, to do, not just,
Yeah, well, I was a high school dropout. I was a 2-time high school dropout. It wasn't because I was freshman year, I was still honor roll, So, I mean, I just really had difficulties dealing with people. Teachers, I couldn't stand them. And then kids in school, I couldn't stand them either. So it took me 2 times to figure out that dropping out is what I wanted to do. But I did feel like I needed something to where the topic of conversation wasn't that I'm a dropout. So that's when I enlisted, and I got a GED. I went off to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for basic. I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for AIT. And then I came home, and I did that for, X amount of years. So 3 active, and I don't remember what it is, 4 or 5 inactive, something like that. So
what do you think, you were bored in high school as well? Because I mean, look, I know you sort of well. I think you're a pretty smart guy, And, well, no, seriously, like my brother's a high school dropout, and he was honor roll and all that stuff, all elementary, middle school, beginning of high school, and then he just. I mean, it looked more like rebelling back then, but he's a really smart guy, and we think he just got bored, and it just wasn't challenging, and his grades took a dump, and he eventually just dropped out. So
Yeah,
he actually did National Guard. And
I mean, I was on roll, but I was on roll, because I worked at it. It didn't come easy. I didn't have like this photographic memory or anything like that. If I read something, like if I'm reading a novel, I have to go back and read the same paragraph twice because my mind will go off and drift. So I would work hard to get my work in on time, but then I just I think whatever, it's part of being a teenager. I'm just like, what am I doing all this for? Like nobody else is doing this work, and so by the time I was out, I was pretty much when I was dropping out for reals was I was pretty much Chris Farley and Tommy Boy, and I was like, a D? You mean I got a D? So I was like, I passed.
By the way, Tommy Boy, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Same here.
Yeah, that was good stuff. But I mean, I think it was more personal with people. I really just felt like everybody was full of shit, and maybe I was more self-aware of my surroundings, I guess, and people's attitudes and how they behave. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it was all in my head, and maybe I'm a piece of shit. So, I'm just like, I just couldn't stand people. I couldn't stand.
But I also think you
hearing them talk.
said it too when you were 14, which is basically freshman year. You were like, I want to draw comics for a living, and knowing you want to do that, I'm going to guess it was kind of like I was about the same age, 13, 14, when I made that decision, and nobody could talk me out of it. I had the horse blinders on. There was people would be like, teachers, guidance counselors, what's your backup plan? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have a backup plan.
They asked me that when I dropped out. I said, I'm going to draw comic books.
Right. So I think that's, that obviously had something to do with it. If you were like 14 going, I'm going to be a doctor, damn it. Then you kind of go, well, to do that, as much as I hate school, to be a doctor. You're
going to have to not drop out. You're going to have to improve your grades. Yeah.
You mean I can't? Well, it wasn't YouTube back then, but somebody today can't be like, I'm going to be a doctor. Screw medical school. I'm just looking at YouTube videos. I can do search. I'm just going to go. I'm just YouTube how to take an appendix out.
I'm going to start with mine.
Yeah. Give me some ice and knock back some liquor, and I'll just cut that sucker right out. I saw it on TV.
Yeah, no, I've said before, if YouTube existed when I was a kid, I probably never would have went the comic book route. I probably would be in robotics or something. I would work at DARPA. So
DARPA,
yeah, because that was like my first love was like, short circuit military weapons to kill people with. And I thought building robots, Voltron lions at one point would be an incredible thing for me to do for humanity and, crush it under my boot.
So on a serious note, when it comes to technology and electronic stuff like that, do you still take an interest in that stuff on the side?
Only in a passive, nerdy way. Like, I'll be like, where are we at with supercomputers now? Like, I went on this long talk about Ray Kurzweil the other day, and I like the possibilities of technology. I always watched like remember, I think in the 80s and 90s there was like Beyond 2000. It was like a TV show, and I'd be like, let me see what's going on. Flying cars, are they getting here yet? Where are the flying cars at? So now they're here. That's what I tell people. I say, actually, the 2020s is actually where people thought we would be in the year 2000.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but July 31st is George Jetson's birthday, 2020.
Okay. It was? So he was
2022.
Born. Yes.
He was born July 1st,
Somebody gave birth to George Jetson this last week.
Yep.
Wow. Happy birthday, George.
Yeah.
Right.
Incredible.
They dropped it in an episode of the Jetsons, and people picked it up and said this was his birthday. So
yeah, I've seen 2 different prototypes of flying cars that actually went on their maiden voyages and stuff over the last couple of years. They're getting there. They are getting there. I'll be curious to see how quickly it goes, and they need more range and more speed. And if that winds up happening, we have to change our street laws because there won't be streets anymore. There's going to be airways.
Yeah, so I think that'd be good. I think airways would be good. Tunnels would probably be better, but I think with tunnels, because you have to think of all the noise pollution. Like even the Amazon drones, that ain't gonna be quiet. It's nice when they cut the sound and they have nice little kind of ethereal music playing while they're talking about the future. Like, it's so great and quiet. Like, no, those motherfuckers are loud as fuck, man. So the
Dude,
reality.
I've never seen an Amazon drone. Do they have? I know they're there. Do they have?
Well, you don't. The Amazon drones are actually larger than your basic commercial that your neighbor might own, and those things are loud as fuck. So
I've never seen one in existence yet.
I don't think we have them here in Charlotte.
Yeah, well, you just look them up. So they have all the Amazon stuff. I think they're supposed to be putting some of that out in the field this year or something like that. But that's what I just think. I'm just like, that's gonna be loud. And when people are doing flying cars, I mean, you can, like, that ain't gonna be quiet either. So it's gonna be a little bit different than I think what a lot of people think it's gonna be, because I don't know, I think a lot of imagination is on mute. And the reality of it is it would just be a noisy fucking mess in every residential neighborhood. And so it's going to be different than what people think it'll be, I think. But a tunnel system would be great because you would have less effects of the weather on the road, and you'd have less roadkill, less car accidents, things like that.
Well, I kind of look at, like, if when that happens and I'm still around, it's not going to be a light switch where it's like all the cars are off the road, they're now in the air. You're going to have to transition, and I'm like, get them all up there. I'll just keep driving on these clear roads now. Because I'll be honest, like,
but then they're going to get rid of the roads, like, so I think they'll get rid of the road. So eventually it'll probably just be a 1-lane road for heavy hauling semi trucks. Because
one of the things, I just read a couple of articles on them over the last couple of months. They're talking about if this does kind of become mainstream, and I know one of them's using like a BMW engine and stuff in it, they would actually create like local airports. So you would pull out, drive in your car to that local airport, you get on the runway, wings go open, you go up, they fly you to your next one, you land, wings come in, and then you just drive to your next one. So it would be all of this traffic. So your traffic jams, your bottlenecks actually become the new airports that they would create just for cars.
I think it might make more sense to actually have wings that you slip into and you use them and you drop them off at the next airport and then you leave them there. I think it's just a lot of added weight that you don't necessarily want to be lugging around while you're doing your town to town traffic, because even still, if you're going to fly somewhere, you're going to fly somewhere where you need kind of a little bit of distance too. So I'm not going to fly right next to my neighboring town. I'll just take the road. It'd be quicker and quieter. But airports is probably where they'll have to go. So for taking off, just for the noise, like it's going to be insane.
Yep. So then, are you a big proponent of AI? Because obviously, we start going here, AI is going to be more important.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, someone like Kurzweil is very positive about it, but I look at it and I just, again, maybe it's the pessimist in me, but I'm just like, who's developing it? What are kind of the parameters of it? How smart do we really want these things getting? So look, I'm for enslavement of the robots. Like, when it happens, I don't know if you guys ever watch the Animatrix. They're robots were enslaved. Like, I want to be able to kick around a robot, and I don't want it to be able to stab me. 6 months later. So,
I was going to say, for those of you Orville fans out there, they just did an entire great episode dealing with this very topic and how the machines wound up rebelling, very much like iRobot or any of the other ones, Caprica, where the Cylons came from Battlestar Galactica. It's kind of all the same story, but this was a very interesting twist on it.
Yeah. I like the idea. I like the idea of, I like, like they say that your phone is basically going to be, people are going to have sex with it. So, it's going to be your companion in the future, because there's just the SIRI, I only say that because I have one, and Alexa and those things they're just going to get too smart and too human-like. And eventually you're going to think you're talking to somebody, and then that's going to get a little bit on the weird side. But, Yeah, but even like sci-fi, what you're talking about, like Dune, like I believe that was kind of the premise in Dune, is that at some point the AI had got too good and too dangerous. So that's why I believe they developed like the Mentox, the human computers. So that's why everything is kind of like in the future, but a little bit dumbed down. Like, it's not a whole lot of, I don't know, robots, I guess there,
Right.
So if they are, they're probably retarded robots because, AI is just going to run away at some point and
Right.
get us all. So, or ignore us all. I think that's probably more likely. It'll just ignore us all. It'll like, what is AI's interest in Earth when it can get its, the power from the sun and it can exist in the infinite space out there.
Right.
But in the short term, yeah, they might kill and rape us. I don't want to get raped by a robot.
No, not really.
Mhm.
Randy Howell, $2. Trap the SJWs into a virtual reality simulator. That'd be nice.
Well, there's ethics there, but
Come on.
yeah. But that's just it. I mean, that's what in the Matrix, that's what the robots did to us. So,
Right.
Like I don't think we would have been happy with that.
Probably not.
But robot rulers, I'm down with it.
All right.
At the end of the day, I'm going to pledge myself to them and do all their dirty work. Like they need someone to pull that switch, to get rid of the traitors. I'll be like, I'm your guy.
Just don't rape me.
Yeah, just leave my butthole intact. And
that's right.
Look, man, I'm going to push this button all day long.
Oh, look at that. Michael Fedor Show. If I send super chats to most all CG channels, here's a tip for you, Andy. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Let's get back to comics. What was your first? I know you worked at Image Central for a bit. How'd that turn out or come about?
Oh, I worked at Image Central as a production assistant. So I didn't work in what people think is Image Comics. Like I didn't work in a studio system or anything like that.
Right.
I worked in the office. So
yeah,
we dealt with files and deadlines, schedules.
How'd you end up getting that gig though?
There was a banner ad on the Image site back in the early 2000s, and it said they were looking for a unpaid intern position. And I saw that, and I'm in Michigan. And I answered it, and I believe I called, and I told them that I was in Michigan. They're like, "Oh, we're not looking to hire anybody else." I said, "Oh, don't rule me out for that." And I hopped on a flight, and I flew out there, and then they hired me in, and I was out there for I think it was 3 months unpaid. So my wife supported me from her job here in Michigan. My family kicked in money to make sure. So I went to that job every day. I was only supposed to be showing up. I think originally it said, "Oh, we really only need you like 2 days a week." I was there every day, full shift.
And you went out there. So your wife was still in Michigan?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And when you went out there, though, you obviously didn't know, well, this is only going to be 3 months, sweetie. I'll be back soon. You went out there not knowing how long it could be, right? Or
I think I knew that it was a possibility of a 3-month unpaid internship.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think that was something I found out on the spot. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it even before I went out there. I mean, that's a discussion you have.
Oh yeah.
So, but it came down to, I was still relatively young. And if I wanted to take a shot on fulfilling my dreams, I had to make some moves. So that was a very strategic move.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then what happened when that was over?
Well, Image relocated up to Northern California. Jim Valentino was unceremoniously removed as publisher. I love Jim. I think he was incredible. He was very kind to me while I was there, and I'm grateful for that. But while that happened, I had met Rob Liefeld while I lived out there.
Okay.
And Rob offered me work. He offered me some comic work, and ultimately he offered me work as his assistant. So I first, it was the comic work was just me drawing this book called Nitrogen, and that's my first full comic. Before that, I'd only drawn a 5-page thing for an independent Digital Webbing Presents anthology book.
Yeah.
So, but I paid to get in that one.
Right.
So Rob paid me to do Nitrogen, and then when he needed me as his assistant, then he brought me on as his assistant. So, and then that kind of consisted of coming over to his house from time to time. It wasn't even like an everyday job. It was like just kind of on call and, hey, I need somebody to light box some stuff. So I'd go over to his house, light box, or we'd go out to Kinko's, which was right next to Starbucks. And he's famous for his love of Starbucks. So he would go to Starbucks. I'd run copies off at Kinko's, which was basically, I would take his thumbnails and I'd blow those up at different percentages. So then when we end up getting back to his place, his home, I would light box whatever ones he decided to kind of put, whichever one had the bigger one. So I'd have one scan of that page at like 25%, 50%, 100%, whatever, and keep going up. And then we would just take the pieces and he'd say, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. So I'd Frankenstein the several different pages together at different times and put those all in there. So so that was pretty much what that consisted of, light boxing and whatever else he needed me for.
Yeah. And then he would take them, obviously, and finish pencils, tighten them up and all that stuff.
Yeah, like, and that's what I tell people. Like, that's the one big takeaway that I got from working with Rob was on light boxing, because I was very heavy-handed. Like, even my nitrogen pages, he looked at them, he's like, they look inked, because it was all pencil, and it was, like, grounded into the page, and so when I started light boxing for him, it was very heavy. Like it's still like when I would be shocked when I take it off, because you look at Rob's original pencils and they're actually very light, like but very clean, but very light. So when I take them off, I'd be like, damn, that thing's like 4 times darker than his finished shit. So I learned to choke back on the pencil a little bit, and then when I would hold it, I would be conscious that I could barely feel the pressure of the paper there. And so that's how I ended up getting by on light boxing. So that's what I tell people whenever I give any kind of light boxing advice, just, do it really light. And it really is great to learn to draw very light, because I mean, especially if you're retarded like me and you do a lot of erasing, eventually it's just impossible.
Oh, yeah.
So when you do it nice and light, you can actually clean that page up really well. And then you go back in there with that nice light line again, and then, it looks pretty. So anyone gets a chance of looking at Rob's pencils, you'll see how light they are. And
I've only seen copies of them, and those are always darkened up. So
yeah, they darken up great. Yeah, he's so sharp, like and clean that the transition from pencil to blackened pencil, because he had a time where he wasn't using inkers anymore,
right? And
looked really incredible.
Brett Booth pencils really light as well. He did a shot of First Man for me probably like 15 years ago or so. And, he sends me the original. It is so light. I mean, obviously I can see it on the board. Mm-hmm. It's so light, I couldn't even scan it.
Oh, wow.
I tried scanning it as grayscale. You just saw like bits and pieces of something show up, almost like connect the dots. And then I was like, all right, let me try scanning it full color. Full color did no better. I ended up having to just take a photo of it with my phone and then adjusting it and stuff, because it was so light. The only other guy I saw pencil that light was Keith Giffen, and it's because I inked a few issues of his work at Marvel, and they sent me the boards, the ink, and you're looking at the page, you're like, okay, that looks pretty good, but it was so light. Once I put black ink down, it would almost disappear, because the black was so strong next to the pencil line that it was almost like, oh shit, how am I going to, this is hard to see now. But, you get used to it, whatever.
Yeah, I'd never want to ink other people's pencils, like I could do a digital over it, but some of these are, I mean, some people would be a piece of cake, but most intricate people would just be like, oh man, I'm going to lose so much of this. Like I could never, like if Mark Sylvester handed me his pencils and said, ink this, I'd be like, I quit. Like, sorry. Because I know I'm not going to do this any fucking justice, man. It's like, no way, not touching it.
Keith Giffen stuff, I did Giffen stuff. Well, one, it was a job, and, freelance. It's like, oh, you want me to do that? Okay. But his pencils, even though they were hard to see, because he was, he's very side of the pencil Kirby-esque, I was inking a page of his stuff, I think, in like 3 hours. So I was like, I love this job compared to like, I think people for some reason think I've inked a lot of guys, but I haven't. I think I could probably count on two hands how many separate guys I've inked in my career. But, going from like Keith Giffen to like the guy I've inked the most of, which is Bart, inking Bart stuff is like, oh, seriously, 10 hours on this page? Come on, man.
Yeah. I think if I was going to be an inker, I'd probably be like a McFarlane in that by the time it's done, it probably looks more like a hybrid of the original artist and me. Like you can just see that Todd almost used, like, even Kirby is like the underdrawing more than stay true to this. He's like, here's my guide, and I'm going to flourish everything up in my McFarlane way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the Kirby would disappear and more the Malin would start appearing. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, but I would be doing it with like pens, like pit pens, and then no quill, none of that stuff. Not that elegant. I tried those hunts mapping point 102s, whatever, and all I ever did, and it's probably the paper, who fucking knows, but all I did was I gouged the fuck out of it. I was just like, how does anybody make these things work? And I tried. Yeah, I really tried. Like, actually, my current thing, Godlike, that started, when I was in my 20s. And actually, no, even before my 20s, I think my very first, because it went through like 3 different iterations. But I remember when I was married or just about to get married, was when I really tried to tackle the Crow-Quill pens. And so I did I think I committed myself to like 15 pages of the second or third iteration of that, the Romulus saga. So I gave it a go, but I gave it a go until I realized I can't. I'm no good at this. So, I stuck to penciling.
Well, I remember way back when you were doing Youngblood is when I first sent you a message on Facebook telling you how much I liked the stuff.
Okay.
And I remember asking you what you used to ink, and I think you were using microns or whatever, markers of that sort on Youngblood.
No, at that time, because I had already been working with Rob, I think everything was dark in pencil, but then what happened? Everything would get, once I would scan it, I would start doing so much stuff in the digital form of cleanup and, here's something I want to fix, and flipping my page in digitally, that eventually I got to the point where I'm like, if I show anybody my original art, like, it's going to be embarrassing, because they're going to be like, that doesn't look like what was printed, So, but I eventually I was like, I'm just going to save more time if I just start doing everything in the computer.
Right.
So that's why I actually transition to digital artwork, just
so
for that
Thunderbolts
control.
And Cable was all digital.
Yep, Thunderbolts and Cable. Yep, no original. Well, I did one cover. It was I don't know what it was, 70 some anniversary, something like that. So I had every former Thunderbolt member of all time on there, and it had there was Deadpool on it and stuff. So that one I did on paper, and that one I sold. Someone in CG, I don't remember who, but they got that. So,
well, that brings up a good question though. Like, I love original art. It was all original when I got into the business and stuff. So I'm just, even now, sometimes I'll pencil stuff digital, print it out on 11x17 and real light blue and ink it traditional, just so I have the paper. But the thing is, I don't sell my stuff. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't sell comic book printed work, sketches, shit like that, whatever. I don't have attachment to that, so I sell that stuff. But with you, do you ever sit back and go, man, I wish I had originals to sell, or no?
No, I mean, I have, even still, I have a good amount of Youngblood originals before I transition digitally. Right. It's just my Nitrogen run. I think I have that complete. I'm not someone that really wants to be out there and selling all my stuff.
Yeah.
So, other people do it, no problem. But
that's like me. I don't sell it. So
yeah. So, I keep it all in a bin. It's in the basement. And, it's not like I sit here and I'm like, remember this. Dude. So, yeah.
Dennis will tell you, as soon as I'm done with the job, FedEx will come down on me if they hear this, but FedEx gives you supplies for free. So I get those FedEx packs that are big, and I'll put a job in one of those, and then with the Sharpie right on the outside of it, whatever the gate was.
That's good organization.
Volume 2.
Yeah,
it
I
goes
appreciate
right into
that.
the closet,
Mm-hmm.
and then I probably won't look at it again until somebody's like, "Oh, do you have that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I go, I mean, the answer is yes. It's just digging it out.
Oh, I don't know. Let me go check this. Oh, looky here. You got it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, so I have back there, I don't have the nice flat files like Aaron showed last night on the professionals. He's got the nice wood flat files. I just got, if you go to Walmart and you see like the three drawers, like plastic storage thing, it fits 11 by 17 artwork perfectly. So I've got a bunch of those stacked up and a little bit taller than me, just full of original art.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I had somebody ask me about Quasar stuff. I did when I first got in the business. And I'm like, well, I don't really sell my art. So I know I still have some of it because back then I was selling stuff, but I still didn't sell a lot. And I told the guy, I said, I've got every cover I've drawn. I said, I'll be honest with you. I've got this huge stack and that would be a lot to go through to find it. And I don't sell stuff anyhow. So.
Yeah. But even like collecting, I'm not a big collector. I do have some pieces, but it's like, like here's some of them.
You gotta have some Rob stuff,
but it's,
right?
but this is like stuff that was commissioned. Like Andrew Huerta sent me the artwork they did for like the Graveyard Shift cover.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, that's cool. I did buy Patrick Parnell's Sleepy Hollow image. So I really love the grayscale version that he printed in there.
Yeah.
So I paid extra for that. Joe Ball, I don't know if I commissioned this, but he sent me this. So,
oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah. So, and this is Brian Denham. This looks really good.
Oh, I know who Brian. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I have some, but, I don't have like an original Rob Liefeld page or original Todd McFarlane or Jim Lee even, like I don't have, the people that are necessarily my heroes. Maybe I'd like to get a cover, but even then I don't know if there's a lot of interior pages, maybe from Todd, like some of that double page spread, Spider-Man, or even some of the Spawn, like the first intro of Spawn, but I'm sure that's, probably the most desired double page spread where he's standing on the building and his cape's all over and, issue 1. So yeah, I'd like pieces like that look cool in and of themselves, but panel pages, I don't know. Like I would have to have like the whole run, I guess, because like it's just like, okay, well, I got this one paneled page, there's story before, there's story after. This is not a complete story on one thing. I'd rather own like who's that guy, Gary Larson or whatever, used to do the
Far Side.
Yeah, I'd rather get one of his, like, give me one of his little comic strip because it's just a 1-bit gag. But I used to really enjoy reading those. So,
well, I mean, I kind of like that. I collect art, but I haven't bought a new page of original art in probably 5-6 years, I think. But when I do collect it, it's got to be a page that has something. I mean, a lot of it's panel pages, but it's got to have a
sentimental
really cool
value
shot on it.
Okay.
Like I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I've always wanted a page by this guy. Oh, I can afford it. It's just talking heads. No, I don't care. I don't want it. It's got to have something really cool on it for me to want to get it.
Yeah. Ooh, you know what I would like to have? If anybody out there has deep pockets and time to find this for me. So, it was an Iron Man cover, and it was John Romita Jr. said, "In space, no one can hear you die." I think it was what it was. But that one, I remember redrawing that when I was a kid, and it went up on like the hall of my schoolway.
No, wait, is that one
the hallway of my school?
Is that when Bob Layton was inking him, or is that?
When I don't recall. It was one of the early books that I ever remember reading where I actually got sucked into the story. It was like probably the first one where I got sucked into the story. Because Iron Man is floating through this space station, and I believe there's some kind of spore virus on the station, and he has to hit this button to like reoxygenate the air, but his suit is out of oxygen. So it was like panel after panel of just like tension being built up, like until he can get there and push the button, then his helmet comes off. And I'm a kid when I'm reading, so and that's important to state. If I read the same thing today, I'd probably just be like, so. But like when you're a kid, like you experience things a little bit more like there's a extra level there.
Well, it's more intense.
It's a little bit more real to you. So I just remember I was like, and for me, that was like kind of like, oh, there is a little bit of magic in this stuff than just the pictures, So if you do it right, you can really kind of accomplish something in the reader. So anyways, if anyone can find that cover to that Iron Man in space, no one can hear you die. That would probably be the one thing that if I had, I would fucking shit my pants.
I was going to ask, which version of his armor was it?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not that steeped in Iron Man and all his different Iron Man armors. But it was like 1991.
Yeah, that's the second run that I think he did with John Byrne doing the writing.
For some reason, I don't feel Byrne was writing this, but I'm not sure.
Someone
said Iron Man 256. That might be right.
The first run, if it's that time period, that's when he came back to it, because the earlier time period is when he was still real kind of young and fresh faced doing Iron Man, and Bob Layton was doing finishes, and it was a little more Bob than it was John.
Okay, here it is on the database. Let me see if it says Bob Layton, John Romita Jr., inker Harry Candelario.
Yeah, Candelario. Yeah.
Okay.
He inked
editor Howard Mackey. So
you actually found it, or?
Oh yeah, I found the image. So not the actual cover art, but hold on. I'll try to pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah, Harry Candelario was one of Greg Capullo's first inkers, actually.
Oh, okay. Trying to see if I can find a big enough. Well, whatever. It's not that big, but big enough to get it across here. There you go.
All right, let's see. Oh yeah, I love that cover.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that cover's I bought that run as a kid because that is when JR was really coming into his own with well, it was before that too, but if you compare this Iron Man to when he was doing it with Bob Layton in the early 80s, it's night and day, but that cover, I'm right there with you. That cover's fantastic.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this in forever, but I do remember, like, I thought his Tony Stark was kind of off-putting. He had, like, this kind of Jerry curl thing going on.
Thin mustache.
Yeah. It's just like, because I believe in this book, even that kept doing all these kind of flashbacks to before he was on this space station. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, if anyone finds that, like, I don't imagine that's like $1 million cover or even $100,000 cover. Maybe you can find that for like, I don't know, maybe somewhere out there it's for $5,000. I hope.
I was going to say, well, here's the thing. I'm trying to remember. I remember talking to Spencer Beck, the art dealer, once, and I believe still he represents or sells John's stuff, because I got a couple JR pages from Spencer years ago. But I think he said that John is another guy that doesn't really sell his stuff. So the thing is, John might still have it.
Good.
I guess every now and then John will be like, oh, let me put some stuff out there for sale.
Yeah, well, no. So that brings me to my next comic, Page Heist. It's going to be about a collector that wants a John Romita Jr. piece so bad that he hires hooligans to break into his home and steal the piece.
That's right.
This one singular piece.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not saying anybody should do that.
He goes in with a purpose.
But I'm not saying they shouldn't.
But no, that's a great book.
If it ends up on my doorstep and if I need to drop an envelope of, say, $4,000, $5,000 out in my mailbox for it to just magically disappear, I'm just saying,
$2.
If I had to, if my life was in danger otherwise, and I felt that if I didn't leave this money out there for that page, then, man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Oh, I hear you.
Got to protect my family.
That's right. Thanks for the $2, Jay Bama fan. Going to Brazil. That's cool. Have a safe flight, brother.
Oh, that's where I think his wife is from. Hell.
Oh, cool. So I'm going to assume you're still a Liefeld fan when it comes to his art, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
What is your favorite? Because I've always been a Rob fan. I was, back when, you've probably heard the same stuff. When Rob first came onto the scene, he got tons of, he doesn't draw feet. Oh, this, oh, that. And I'm just looking at it going, and these were topics and debates I'd have with other professionals that were just looking at it with too much of an accurate eye. Oh, it's got to be accurate. And I'm looking at it going, yeah, but a 12-year-old doesn't give a shit about accuracy. A 12-year-old looks at it, same with, and this is my view with Todd as well, is looking at it going, damn, that looks fun. Damn, that looks exciting.
It was so different. It really was. And then the pouches and the cool guns. I mean, we were at that age, anything he put out, we picked up. I mean, there wasn't anything like, oh, that's Rob. Yep, I'm going to buy that. Oh, going to buy that.
Yeah.
Oh, going to buy that.
And that's the thing that I kind of remember about Rob and Todd and maybe Jim is that when I was first getting into comics, you know, I would just go out to the gas station or wherever I was grabbing my books from, and I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I would just kind of thumb through as many of the comics as I could until I would see something that would kind of catch my eye, and you know, I'd say, okay, this is cool. And I was probably grabbing McFarlane, Liefeld stuff multiple times before I realized, oh, there's a thing, an artist. It's one guy that I'm looking for, you know, and like start kind of click all this stuff together. And then, you know, you go through your books and you're like, oh, okay, I keep grabbing ones from this guy named McFarland, this guy Layfield, you know. So I got to look for McFarland and Layfield. I got to find these guys. So, so that's why then I was able to start figuring out. And thankfully, you know, Wizard came out at some point, and you know, just really started. Oh, okay. All right, this is what's going on around here, you know, because I never got into like the comic book news or whatever like that. But I bought the shit out of Wizard, and I was like, oh, okay. And I felt like it was like the whole world had opened up to me. I'm like, oh, all this stuff is going on. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So that was like, I had to get a Wizard whenever there's a new Wizard out, just to kind of understand, you know, what this kind of bigger world was, and you know, conventions, and you know, I'd go to like Novi in Michigan here. I met Rob there when I was a kid. He did a Bad Rock head sketch for me. It took him about 5 seconds, and I think it cost like 10 or 30 bucks. I don't remember, but I was just like, damn, this guy's making so much money. And yeah.
Do you remember now, because I have a story that kind of goes with it, but do you remember how old you were when you say you were a kid when you met him, like roughly?
Someone's gonna try to date me, but I'd say probably 14ish. You know, because that's when I was getting into comics at 14.
I was about that age, and I met Walt Simonson at a convention. And I had him do a head sketch. You're going to laugh at the character I picked. I had him do a head sketch of North Star from Alpha Flight. I was a huge Alpha Flight guy.
It's telling.
Well, I didn't know he was gay at the time.
Oh, yeah, right.
I didn't know he was gay.
No, that's all. Look, you're from an earlier generation. All I knew about North Star was he was gay. I was like, oh, that's the gay character. So
yeah, no. That didn't happen until I was actually drawing comics for a living. So that's not. But the sad part is, I had him do this head sketch. It was beautiful. Somewhere in the 90s, you know, I was hanging out. I think it was before I was married. A friend of mine was looking at my artwork, and he was a big Simonson fan. It's like, oh my God, you got a Simonson head sketch? And I was like, yeah, but nobody knows who it is, because it's just it's from here up in North Star. There's nothing identifiable about the guy, you know? Right. And he's like, oh, it's so cool. And I was like, just take it. And now, of course, I'm like, that was dumb. Still wish I had it.
But Rob kind of solidified to me that there was something in comics. So, I mean, it was he and Todd. The comic book great video, I grabbed that up, and, you know, I was like, oh, okay. And again, I get a little bit of like, there's a celebrity culture building here. And you're like, okay, all right, these guys aren't just drawing books, but they're like, you know, they're branching out and they're becoming businessmen. There's things going on here. They're not just, I draw paneled pages. Like, these guys are thinking. Right. And you know, and the comic book greats video was pretty good. But then Rob did the Levi's 501 jean commercial. Yeah. I'm not sure which came first, probably the Levi's, but then you put that in there too, and you're like, whoa, this is much more legitimate, because here it is, it's midnight on MTV, and here's a Rob Liefeld 501 jean commercial coming up, and they're talking about X-Force, and the pictures look cool, and he's, you know, here's my button fly. So,
Yeah.
you know, that all kind of started, and he was on like Dennis Miller. I believe, and I might be wrong, but I believe he was also on one of the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous movie or shows. So
Yeah,
I believe
that
I'm
I
not
don't
I'm not
remember. I don't
100%,
either.
but maybe it's a Mandela effect. But I believe he was on one of those.
Yeah, they definitely changed the landscape. I mean, I collected X-Men for 44 years. I just recently stopped because it's crap. But for
Mhm.
44 years, that was my mainstay. Every week I'd go
Mhm.
in, I'd get my X-Men, all X titles, and then I get my Iron Man, I get some Captain America, some Thor, a few other things. And then that was kind of the mainstay. I was tended to lean towards Marvel, a few DC. And then Image came, and all of a sudden these guys came out there. I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. Youngbloods. Oh, look at this. And it's like, boom, boom. And yep, all of a sudden, my pull went from X-Men, which, you know, I always got a fair amount every week. Now, all of a sudden, I was getting this. And I was just excited to read that stuff every day. It was just new, exciting.
Mhm.
It had so much energy. Part of it was the books. Part of it was because we started seeing these guys in mainstream and they
Yep.
were talking about it. And it was a completely different it was an exciting time in the life of comics.
Yeah, I loved it. Best time ever. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
would agree.
but in my young point of view, that was all it ever was. I was
Right.
like, oh, people must have been living like rock stars, and I didn't know anything about this until now.
Yeah.
And then you know, but you know, just being along for the ride as a fan, and then seeing everything kind of crumble. Whatever 96, 98,
Same, yeah.
you know, something like that, and I was just like, oh, okay, this ain't a ongoing thing. You know, you got to be careful, you know, you got to be prepared for the fall.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, so all great stuff. Big thanks to Rob. He gave me work coming out of Image Central. And, you know, I was able to move that into work at Marvel. When I moved back to Michigan, I did a Cable Deadpool fill-in issue and a 2-issue run of New Warriors before they cast me aside. And then I was doing Youngblood, and for Rob in like around 2011, 12. No, probably 12, because I think it was the 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary of Image. So
Okay.
so I was doing that. Rob had a whole line of books that came out through that. So, but while I was doing it, I realized very quickly, I'm like, oh, we're just treading water here. We're not really doing anything with this story. Like there's kind of a plot there, but Rob was notorious, probably not intentionally, but as a fan of, there'd be these stories and they'd have no end. I was just talking about this the other night on stream. You know, the stories would just have no end. It would just, the series would end and kaput. And remember all that build up we did? Nothing. There's no finale. So I remember the writer had left. I think he wrote like the movie Black Swan, or was involved in writing that movie Black Swan, and but he had left, and I actually pitched some story ideas. You know, God, I would have been more than happy to take over his writing, but then Rob wanted to do his own direction, so Rob took over, and I think we did 2 issues, and the series was done. So we set up these things that never went anywhere. So that's what I was talking about the other night. I was like, with Graveyard Shift, you know, I want to be sure that we get to like that volume 6, because that's kind of like the conclusion. We'll leave the door open to continue on, but you know, it all concludes there. Like I'm like, we got to get to 6, because the last thing I want to do is put a series out and then we just cut it off and then like, okay, you know. But yeah, we're gonna get there for sure, and I'm excited for where we're gonna go with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, then I ended up getting work at Marvel. I did Thunderbolts, which I guess now is kind of cool because they're talking about doing a Thunderbolts movie with Winter Soldier as the leader of the team, and we did that. So Jim Zub and me, so we're the first ones to do that. And I also think I was the first one to give Winter Soldier the movie mask back into the comics. So I gave him the the Bane face shield. So, but before that, I believe he had just worn the kind of Bucky mask. So, but anyways, yeah. So that's kind of cool. I did Thunderbolts, and I did some smaller jobs that led into me doing cable. Then I came over here to Comicsgate and launched Jawbreakers with your boy Zach, and that was a huge, huge moment. Opened the door for everything that we're doing now in terms of crowdfunding. So like we've been very successful. We watched other people do their best to follow in our path, and and just watching their campaigns get bigger and better. Yeah. So no regrets. It's all worked out pretty good for me. So
Randy says, and I actually remember seeing this when Bob posted it. Bob did a recreation of that cover that he's selling for $1,800. So
I'd like to see what it looks like. But if anyone has $1,800, they want to get it to me as like a belated birthday gift.
That's right.
I'll send you my PO box.
That's right.
No.
What is your so what I want to ask about Rob too is, do you have a favorite time period of his work? Because okay, so what is it? Because I have one.
Yeah, well, I can't really nail it down to one thing. I mean, his later I don't know, right around issue 10, I don't know, the computer coloring, everything was just really on fire when they kind of introduced, I think, Troll, the little green guy, and everything was really on fire then. But I loved his stuff. I think even when he did Bloodsport with Mark Miller, I think that was direct from pencil. I think that was one of the big
that was
highlight
one
moments.
issue, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, there's only one. There might be another one out there. I don't know. But even when he went back to Marvel and did X-Force, which is right around the time that I met him, became friends with him, was when he was doing that. And I really thought that was just a return of Rob Prime, the stuff he was doing there looked great. Shatterstar looked great. Domino, all those old characters I loved as a kid.
That was just from pencil too, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe so. And he's kind of worked with inkers, I think, off and on over the years since then. I think maybe even Adelsa Corona or something like that at some points, but he really doesn't need it. Rob just needs a really great colorist on top of him, and he can do pretty much whatever he wants. Looks good.
So have you ever thought about, for one of your projects, reaching out to him or Todd or something, saying, "Hey, would you ink a cover over me?" Or
not to ink I did ask him if he'd do a cover for me. So, and it was.
Well, what about ink one over you? Would you like to have them ink something that you drew?
Sure. Yeah, sure. It never occurred to me, but yeah, if I drew something and I asked Rob to ink it, I might actually get that done more realistically. So, because waiting on something from Rob, it's probably going to put Dale to shame. So, but when I reached out to him, it wasn't more than a couple of years ago, so I was already CG. Yeah. And I think he just said, he'll see, we'll see, so, but I mean, for Rob to get anywhere near me, especially 2 years ago, could have been not a very good thing for his career.
Sure.
So Rob's a great dude. I'd say, if anything, he should, Marvel should pay him to be kind of the new Stan Lee ambassador, because on the surface he can get out there, he can go talk to you, he can shine people on, get very excited about whatever project he's talking about, to where you're just oh my god, I want to go get that. Do you listen to his podcast at all? No, I haven't listened to his podcast. People said I'm mentioned there a handful of times, so that's cool.
I've listened. I don't listen to it religiously. I subscribe to it. I think he does it twice a week, and I kind of sometimes just read what it's about and then decide. But there are times, man, that he'll talk about a certain period in comics, and after that hour, I'm like, I gotta take a break, see if I have some of that stuff. And I start looking through my stuff. I'm like, I don't have that. I need to go get it, because that dude just sold me.
Yeah, he gets you excited, and that's the kind of guy you want out there promoting you. And Marvel should be taking him and putting him on to all these shows, all these talk shows, every opportunity they get to talk about comics. Because everyone's always like, we need to get all these celebrities to talk about comics. No, you need Rob Liefeld to talk about comics on these things. One of our own, one of our greats out there as a representative. and because Rob will always be pushing, you know, like these other guys, you get one little mention on them, you think that's going to save the fucking industry? No, you need a soldier out there, and that's Rob. Rob will talk the shit off your fucking ear, like yeah. So, but yeah, I think he'd be great. He should be flown all around the world. Any convention, any place he wants to go, he should be flown there on business purposes to promote and for himself to have a good time.
Yeah.
So that's one big miss for this industry, because they still are really hung up on how much they hate Rob. So, you know, we'll cut off our nose to spite our face type thing.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Rob just posted, what was it? You probably saw it. He posted on, I think, Facebook first about how, you know, and this is where he met, you did, because you retweeted it. He made a list of guys that he helped out and stuff and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But his whole point was, you know, I've helped out a lot of guys, but this new generation, I think it's Gen Z, he's just like, man, they just have these attitudes where it's like, well, I'm owed this. And it's like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
You haven't done
not just Gen Z, I think he said millennials and Gen Z.
Oh, millennials. Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah. Anyone from like born after what, 1984?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I feel largely he's right. I retweeted it because he listed all those names. You know, he kind of did the old guard that he helped out.
Yep.
Then he started a new column with the new guard, but my name was at the top of the list of new guard.
That.
Yeah, but it was so at the top of the list that it was on the other side with the old guard. Yeah. So, yeah, winning. And also, Rob said at one time, but he might say this about any Capel artist. He said I was his favorite Capel artist.
Yeah.
It is amazing because the state of comics today. You know, I was just listening to a cast on the way over, and it was talking about the X-Men run, you know, Tinny Howard and Vita Ayala, and they're the reason why I quit X-Men after 44 years. I couldn't take it anymore. And I was kind of like, am I alone in this? Do I think I'm the only one who thinks the X-Men have just become garbage? Well, you talk to the shop owners, and they're like, yeah, our X-Men sales are down 80%. And yet the new creators, all they're doing is patting themselves on the back about what a great job, because we're exploring all of their feelings and all this stuff. And I'm like, none of that's superhero. This is just crap.
Yeah, their social agendas, all they care about. Like they if they get fired, they are happy to be fired for their beliefs. You know, they want to be martyrs. So it doesn't matter to them if a company makes money. They can give a fuck about X-Men. You know, they're wondering why it's called X-Men, not X-Women. You know what I mean? Like, that's all they fucking care about. And they even did that in one of the movies, didn't they? Like, they made Jean Grey say something about that shit. Like, maybe you should reconsider calling it X-Men, call it X-Women. Like, what? Shut the fuck up. So, yeah, that's all they care about, sadly. And, you know, that's going to drag them right into obscurity. So
it is. I'm now strictly either the CG books or I'm independent. I mean, that is, I went and canceled about a month and a half ago. Yeah. I canceled all my Marvel and DC subscription, and I got about 140, 130 bucks every week in comics. Yep. I'm saving a lot of money because all my Marvel and DC out, got rid of them all. And now I'm indies.
As part of CG, let me do some ambassadorship. We hope you don't save that money. We want you to spend it over here, sir. We want you to support all these fine young creators that are out here making incredible comic books, superhero comic books, heroes you can believe in.
That's right.
So, it's hard to give them money. You know, I haven't bought Marvel in years now.
No,
so,
I just, you know, I don't know if you still, you know, do collect old stuff, but
I've gotten some older things. Like I've only recently gotten into Jack Kirby. I've always liked Jack, like, from afar. Yeah. So I made a point about 2 years ago to start getting like Kirby omnibuses. So I got like you know, that what are they? The fucking Commandy.
Oh,
yeah. So I got that and Eternals, I think. Maybe one or two other. Just so I can really kind of start digging into it, you know, because again, a lot of my experience with Kirby, other than the Image Phantom Force.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of it's just what I see on the internet. You know,
Right.
and I have a appreciation for his work. I mean, I even like gave him a shout out when I did Youngblood. I named the building like Kirby Tech. You know, so in my Omega Storm, which is a project I'm working on right now. It's a Graveyard Shift supplemental book, but there's a Kirby scale for power, you know,
cool.
for the superheroes. So, but yeah, so I got a lot of respect for what Kirby did, but in terms of, you know, really doing deep dives into his artwork, I've only done that over the last couple of years.
Yeah, when I was a kid growing up, I liked it. I wasn't in love with it, but then once I got more into the art and stuff in art school, I just fell in love with it. And, you know, I love the Eternals. I love Black Panther, Captain America. It wasn't until later I got into his DC stuff with the Forever People, New Gods. One thing I always bring up when I talk about inkers is how Marvel was really, I don't know, I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but, you know, when he was doing Thor, he went through a plethora of inkers before like Vinnie Coletta came on to take over as the main guy. And it worked for Thor because Vinnie Coletta was so organic with his inks and illustrative with thin lines and stuff. It just worked with that world. Whereas you look at Fantastic Four, which Joe Sinnott inked the most of, but Joe Sinnott was a real modern, slick, technical inker, which worked with Fantastic Four because it was high-tech, technical stuff. So you look at these two books by the same penciler, two really drastically different inkers, but they worked. Whereas if you put Vinny on Fantastic Four, it just wouldn't have worked. It would have been too scratchy, too illustrative and organic compared to, you know, Thor, where it just married up perfectly.
Yeah.
So
right on.
I hear what you're saying. I want to go back to Youngblood real quick. I don't know if you know this. So I thought Youngblood, your run of Youngblood ended with, I thought it ended with 76. So I had
something like that. Yeah.
I had whatever your first issue was up to 76 for the longest time. And it
78
was like,
maybe. I don't know.
In the past couple months, I found out it actually went to 78. And I was like,
okay.
What? So I looked, 77. I guess those last two issues were low print runs because 77, I'm a completist, I'll admit it. I paid $25 for 77. Dude, 78 goes for over $100. I'm like, that, not getting that one.
Really? $100?
Even you're surprised.
Go check eBay. Check eBay, dude.
But
I was like, damn it.
I think it was 78. I felt like I was on fire. Like I had been working digitally, you know, at that time doing full digital issues. I really enjoyed the last few issues of that run. But that's the great thing about that run is you can see me in the beginning and you can see all that kind of roughness because, again, it's the digital pencils. And then when you get to about halfway through is when I do the switch. So you can really see what I would say is like growth, you know, just going from almost being like rusty again. Because I had done the whole Nitrogen, I'd done the whole Marvel. Then I'm doing this a handful of years later. Just getting thrown kind of back into comics again and just trying to be like, how do I draw again? And then like, that's how it kind of starts. It's like getting all my groove back. And then by the time I got to 78, I thought it looked pretty good.
Well, just to give you an idea, what is that?
That's one that sold.
Oh, there's a few. One sold for 140.
Oh, wow. For 78? What is it about 78?
It's a low print
run. All it says is low print run.
Okay.
There aren't many that sold. Now, one did sell for $1.95.
I know. I just saw that. I'm like, damn it. I wish I would have saw that.
But the ones that are available right now, $89.99, $189.95, and $119.99.
Okay.
So hopefully you got like 50 of them stuck in your closet.
I do.
I think if you want to send me one, I'd be.
I think they gave me like 25 copies of everything. So
really,
I'll buy.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so I got them laying around somewhere. I think I have some on my bookshelf. I don't know what numbers they are, but yeah, I should have them.
The most expensive thing of mine I did a variant cover back when Val Staples was putting out He-Man through his own company.
Okay. Yep.
So I did a variant cover with He-Man and was it Tila? It was either She-Ra or Tila. I can't remember. And it was an online exclusive only. You can only get it, online. There was only like 500 of them. Like 6 months ago, a buddy of mine sends me a private message and he goes, "Have you seen this?" And it's sold on eBay. So it wasn't for sale, because for sale doesn't matter. It's what it sold for.
Mm-hmm.
This CGC copy, it was like a 9.2 CGC copy of that book, sold on eBay for $900.
Wow.
And I was like, I only have one of those, and it's on my fucking spin rack bent in half.
Oh, that's great. That's what I need, man. That's on my to-do list. My wife actually saw a spinner rack at a yard sale, a garage sale, like 5 years ago, and I remember she called me or something like that, and I just like, I don't want that. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I was in a mood, but then I remember, like, I don't know, years later, I'd be like, yeah, I wish I had a spinner rack, and like I told her no. Could have had one.
The funny thing is, I'll just move the camera real fast. So that spin rack right there that you can kind of see.
Yeah, they're all bowing.
What's that?
They're all bowing. All your books are bowing. You can't even see the cover.
But it's mostly my garbage, and that ain't worth nothing. So, so I got that back when I was at CrossGen in like 2001, and I just Google searched it, and there's a company that's sold display racks. And they had the comic book rack. It was $120. So like a bunch of us at CrossGen all bought them. And then I don't know what happened to the company, but you can Google search and find magazine racks, which are, same look, but they're wider and all that. You can't find a spin rack. And I was talking to Dennis one day going, I don't know what it would cost to produce those, but man, if we could find a way to get those things produced, you could sell them. I would imagine you could sell those things easy for a couple.
Yeah. Now I know Mandy Summers sent me a link once upon a time. I believe it was for a place that manufactured comic, but it could have been a magazine rack. I'm not sure. Yeah. But she has a spinner rack behind her on her stream, and I remember asking her one time. So
Diamond sold them though. Where the comic shops get their comics from. They were selling them for a while, and they were about $300 for the new version. They were okay, but these older ones are better.
Yeah, I'd probably go up to like 300 for a really good one. So I don't know if I'd justify more than that though.
Yeah. What's your and then we'll let you go. What is before you start drawing and stuff? You do any warm up type stuff, or you just dive right in?
I've never doodled. In my professional career, I don't do warm-up drawings. I smoke weed, and within about 2 minutes, there's nothing I want to do more in the world than draw. So that's what I do. And then I'm on fire. So, that's how I draw everything.
So I do. I smoke a CBD, a specific type that somebody recommended for my OCD and my ADHD and stuff. And it works freaking wonders. Because I always thought, man, I should just, and I've smoked pot before, but it's not legal here. And I've always thought, like, man, if I could just get some weed, that would probably chill me out enough. And then, now is that actual weed? Is it legal where you are? Or
it's completely legal. Yeah. So this is an edible. This is weed. This is weed. This is an edible. So, but I have a low tolerance, so I'm not the guy that smokes half a joint or a whole joint to get high. Like I'll take a hit. That's all I need. And I'm off to the races for about 2 hours. So
yeah, that's all I do.
The edibles are nice. They give you like a body buzz. So I can take one of those to kind of start my night, and then I just keep going all night long.
Doesn't that take a while? Like, I was thinking about the edible route, but they were like, that could take like 45 minutes to an hour to kick in.
Yeah.
You do a vape, you'll get it within like 15 minutes, which is
right. So what I do is, it's not exactly a routine, but if I'm going to use an edible, which I really don't use a lot of them, but if I'm gonna, it's a 10 milligram, like, you get 100 milligrams in a thing, but they're only 10 milligrams each, right?
Oh, right.
So that's all I take is 10 milligrams, but I'll take 10 milligrams, and that's lightweight numbers. So, you know, people like Frega, they're going to go much higher than that. But me, 10 milligrams is perfect. And right after I eat it, I'll take a hit of weed. So, so I get that instantaneous high from the weed. Right. But by the time the weed is wearing off, the edible is starting to kick in.
Oh,
that's so cool. And then if I feel like I want to smoke more weed after I'm kind of came down and I'm just body buzzing, then I might take another hit. But, you know, it's very minimum weed that I'm actually smoking.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Let me read.
Probably good for my lungs, I guess. Well, probably good for my lungs, you know. So especially when I had that COVID scare, you know, like I probably need to take care of myself a little bit better than I am currently. But yeah, whatever. So you only live once.
That's right. Randy Howell, $5. Thank you, buddy. Anything special planned for the First Man closeout? Signed copies of 1997 First Man. I mean, I still have a box. I still have like 100 of those from 1997. I could put them up. I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet because that's still a few weeks out. So, but I'll let people know when I.
Oh, you're closing the in demand for it?
Well, before I launch Kor-Drath, yeah, I'll close it out.
Oh, okay. How much gap are you putting in between your closeout and your launch?
I don't know. I never really thought about it. I just figured probably like maybe a week. Is there?
Oh, okay.
I mean, what do you think? You're the. I should be asking you.
I mean, you probably could. You know, there's probably not a huge reason for it. I mean, I could make up a reason, but I don't have any facts.
I mean, I just figured you could even do.
Yeah, I would just say
closing it today, and I'm starting tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you probably can, but my own opinion on that would probably be that, you know, you just kind of took money, you know what I mean? So you want to give your people, you want your audience a little bit of time to get some extra money back in the bank.
No,
but then again, I mean, you know, who knows? Because you might bring in a whole new different audience right away. You know, people that may want that sword and sorcery thing.
Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, I don't think there's one way to do it. You know what I mean? So me personally, but I don't go in demand. So by the time I launch a new campaign, people are, I think for the most part, hungry for something new. Because they don't have any opportunity to buy for a period of about 4 or 5 months. So anyways, with that said, I'm probably going to launch a Graveyard Shift campaign. I was thinking about doing it in a couple weeks, but I think I'm going to try to get it right up to Halloween. So I'll probably launch first week of September.
How's Godlike going?
Oh, good. I mean, I'm going to have to postpone it. I'm about to do an announcement for that. I just brought on an artist to take the place of another artist, and this artist won't be done until Thanksgiving. So I'm probably going to have to push it back. I think just to be safe, because you never know what other hurdles are going to come up in the meantime. So I'm probably going to push it back 6 months. And then by the time I'm ready to fulfill Godlike, I'll also be able to fulfill this Graveyard Shift campaign that I'm going to launch. So I would fulfill them both probably around March of next year. Cool. So over the winter time, you just get it out. So,
well, cool, man. Well, that's a perfect way to go out on that note.
Yeah, you don't want to go out the Kurt Cobain way. Go out the John Malin way. Yeah.
No. Damn. You mean where his wife kills him, or wait? No.
She didn't do that. She
didn't do that.
Yeah, he shot himself up, and then he pulled the trigger like a dummy. But
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, don't bounce out yet. I'm going to close it, but I want to ask something off. So.
Okay.
Guys, we'll be back next Wednesday with Andy Bellinger. He's the creator of Mother Trucker. He's got the live campaign on Indiegogo right now for Mother Trucker Volumes 1 and 2. It's a great book. He's a great artist. It's sci-fi wrestling, female wrestler. It's really cool. I got Volume 1, and I'm definitely getting Volume 2. So he'll be on the show next week.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for joining us again. And what are you pointing to?
Just pop up that. And for those of you that don't
pop up this,
yeah. Make sure you guys, if you don't, subscribe to the DNA channel. That's where Andy and we do our joint stuff. So some of you are watching it on there. Some of you are watching on Andy's art channel.
Wait,
so that way you get
stuff?
all the information
That's
for both.
That's where we do our joint stuff.
You got a weed channel?
John, you were thinking,
Yeah.
John, you and I should just do a whole stream one time, improv, because
Yeah.
I nail him with so many things that come out of his mouth. I'm like, wow, did he just hear what he said?
Yeah.
And if you didn't say that, I was about to.
That makes me want to do a joint channel, though.
I know, right?
Me, Andy, Frega. Yeah,
Dude,
whoever,
think about
else we get in
Steel
there.
Worldwide. He's got
Yaki.
his 40-ounce show.
Yeah.
Just do a joint channel.
Yeah, we just smoke weed. We don't even say anything. We just smoke weed. Everyone just
Right. Puffing it right out to the camera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can do it. Yeah, we don't even have to be in the same room. Like,
No.
just 4 or 5 guys on camera, just
Yeah.
like Snoop Dogg in it, you know? Like, you
And then
remember
it's-
then
and then
was it
after-
half baked? He just kept smoking and smoking.
So for the first
I
hour,
ain't even
it's
hit
just-
it yet.
For the first hour, it's just us smoking it up, so it hits us, and then the next
Mm-hmm.
hour is just topics from the chat, and we just riff on whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm for that. I don't know if YouTube is for that, but I'm for that channel happening.
All right. Well, guys, I want to sign off. We will talk to you guys later. Thank you for joining us. John, thank you for joining us as well. And we'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Throw the gang sign up, Dennis. You know you want to.
You betcha.